Hey, it's Rob from Ready for a Geek. Today we're delving into Nerd Block's Geek and Sundry Blocks for April 2016. Nerd Block, as you well know, has a lot of subscription boxes for a lot of different genres, including classic geek, sci-fi, horror, kids, comic books, and everything in between. They've also partnered with different events and conventions to do these theme boxes every so often. They just did one earlier this year for C2E2 in Chicago. They just got one this week for Emerald City Comic Con. And they also partnered with Geek and Sundry to do a tabletop-inspired box for International Tabletop Day 2016, which is at the end of April. It's April 30th. They have events all over the world in shops and comic book shops and libraries, at people's houses, anywhere and everywhere. So Geek and Sundry Nerd Block have partnered to create a box that has a little bit of everything. So what's in the box? Now I've gone ahead and unpackaged some of these, so if you have one of these yourself and you're opening it, the packaging will look a little bit different because some of it has been removed. One of the arguably biggest items in the box is Shirt Punch's Tabletop Day shirt. I played more games during Tabletop Day 2016 with Geek and Sundry's new D20 inspired logo. Shirt Punch has always had some winning shirt designs. These are exclusive to Nerd Block. You can't get them anywhere else unless you go eBay them. Shirt Punch itself is cool. In and of itself, they do 24-hour flash sales and shirt designs. They just had a really cool bundle with Orphan Black that had a pop vinyl and I believe a mug or a poster, as well as a cool t-shirt design. So pretty cool. This is also a really neat thing to bring to conventions. Take a silver Sharpie with it. Felicia Day is really big on making appearances because she is promoting her book, You're Never Weird on the Internet Almost. She just had a paperback version. I think a tour is going with it. Hopefully she'll be back at Dragon Con this year. That was one of my favorite celebrity appearances that I've done. That's including the Battlestar Galactica cast, who I hope will always go there. As well as that, they have a No Survivors notebook and some Felicia Day Embrace Your Weird pencils. This is also a motto that was on a t-shirt she put on represent.com to stomp out bullying last year. And the No Survivors notebook is your typical, pencils are also hard to hold on to, right? It's your typical detective-style top-down notebook. It flips up like a memo pad, and it's got an elastic closure. No Survivors, I think, is a Twitch show that Geek and Sundry just started. That's a good old-fashioned paranoia RPG, and those are always fun to play because you never know who you can trust. As somebody who dungeon masters or game masters in RPGs, these are really handy to have because a lot of games that you play sometimes, like Munchkin or D&D, don't have a really good built-in scorekeeping mechanism, and they're also a really good way to record ideas. If you're playing a campaign, someone tosses an idea out, it's a really good idea to have a pad on hand and record those ideas, and then go back and weave that into your campaign. So, as someone who's planning out a new Pathfinder campaign, these are going to see really good use very soon. Another item they have that's kind of referencing a show, if I can dig it out, like I said, I unpackaged these, is the the official Will Wheaton D6 die, and it also has the Tabletop Day logo on top of it. Now, Will Wheaton, if anyone who watches Tabletop knows, is about as lucky as I am with dice rolls, and he always rolls very bad hands. So this is a completely one-sided dice. So no matter what you do with this dice, you're continually screwed. I know the pain, Will. I know how you feel. So that's a little self-referential joke to Will. Obviously, this is not a useful item, but it is kind of funny. So mileage may vary on your opinion of what that does. Another thing that they actually previewed this on Twitch before they released it, but they have Geek and Sundry tabletop playing cards, again with the Play More Games and the Tabletop Day logo. And what this is your basic playing card deck. It has customized Geek and Sundry cards on it. It's got the D20 logo and kind of a geometric green pattern on the back, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, it is your typical kind of playing deck. It's just the standard playing cards. What would have been cool is to put the cast of the Guild or some characters from Critical Role or Titan's Grave on here. But you know, you get what you can get. These are pretty cool. These will probably be making the rounds at my cigar lounge's poker night sometime soon. These are also really handy, as I said during the Twitch preview, if you're at a convention or you're waiting in line somewhere. These are a good way to pass the time because eventually you will run out of things to talk about. So that is a really handy way to pass the time. And you'll play Skip Bow or Blackjack while you're waiting on Jim Butcher at Dragon Con. Another big thing that was previewed, I think, on Twitter instead of Twitch is the Geek and Sundry dice bag, as well as these challenge coin type things. This is a little velvet bag that's got Geek and Sundry's new logo screen printed on it. The coins are actually pretty cool. They're probably my favorite thing out of the bag. They have the Geek and Sundry logo again, laser etched or dyed into the back. And it has roles on it. If you play role-playing games, you know that there is a starter role that you fill, either a wizard, warrior, barbarian, bard, and rogue, who's kind of like a thief. And these are also the Geek and Sundry colors, which is pretty cool. But what this is are the starter roles for any RPG, be it Pathfinder or D&D. Which are both closely related. And what you can do is, if you play social games like I do, where you go and you're not really playing a campaign, you're just introducing people to the game, these are a really great way, especially if you're like me and you're awful with games. These are awful with names, not games, even though I'm terrible with those two. You can dole these out to people that you don't know very well, and you immediately know what they do without having to do the awkward, what was your name again, every time you want to tell the bard to go and play a song and put a monster to sleep, or give them the option to if you're mastering. So those are pretty handy. These are also marketed as a dice bag. And these can also be challenge coins too. If you're playing a game, you can tell people immediately what you're doing in that game, what your role is. So this is pretty cool. These are durable. It's either nickel or brass, something really well made. These have a nice heft to them, a nice weight. They feel like doubloons. So those are pretty handy. This is also a dice bag, which I think a lot of people in some of the videos I saw kind of missed on. And one thing with role-playing games is you can never have too many dice. Every time I assume someone's going to have some extra dice on hand, they never do. So taking my typical role-playing dice that are not included in the box, but I always have with me, right? It's like religion. I always have these on you. And these fit really nicely into the bag and have a little bit of room for anything else. So you can maybe even fit a second set of dice in there and still have room. Put it in your bag, your box, however you go to tabletop day or wherever you play games, you can always have that on hand. So that's pretty cool. Another big item is this Magic the Gathering action figure that's being put out by Funko, which is always really good. They're highly detailed. They've got some articulation. They are very spot on with the artwork, which of course is based on Magic the Gathering illustrations, which are always fantastic. Let me see. Which are always fantastic. I don't know if I have specifically this guy in hand, but they basically base them on a character in the game that you can pick and make an action figure out of it. These were shuffled up for no pun intended. These were shuffled up to everybody, so if you go and watch a video that's not this one, you may see a different figure, which is pretty cool. Series 1, number 3. I don't know if they do this like Funko's, where this is like the mold and this is really one character. I have no idea. But it's made by Funko. It's really good, really detailed. This may have been a last-minute item because it's not really necessarily attached to Geek and Sundry in any way or any of their shows. Even though it is inspired by, of course, fantasy and role-playing, which is a big part of them. What would have been really cool is to see a Critical Role or a Titan's Grave action figure in here instead. That doesn't diminish the value of this. This is still really cool. There's a lot of value in this. If you don't like it, I'm sure there's somebody who will snap this up immediately on eBay. I like it. I can never have too much stuff in my office or my studio. So this is pretty cool. Again, I wish it was a little more Geek and Sundry-ish, but I'm not going to knock that. Speaking of, Geek and Sundry also has a standard bumper sticker that's probably going to go onto my game day tote or my car. What would have been really cool, I can't knock them for getting mileage in their logo because as a graphic designer by trade, I always like seeing what people do with different logos and how they handle it. But what would have been really cool, since we're knee deep in an election season, is maybe doing like an election campaign bumper sticker for Tabletop Day or Geek and Sundry, or maybe Felicia Day because she's doing her book campaign. That would have been cool, but I'm not going to knock it. This is a little bit of filler like the pencils, but that's okay. Last but not least, we have Dungeons & Dragons Shadows of the Vampire Part 1, Issue 1, branded again with Critical Role and Geek and Sundry. These are based like the old school Guild comics that IDW put out. These are based on characters in Critical Role that characters or players have created. And this takes the gameplay aspect out of it and goes more for the storytelling aspect. Again, in that very cartoony IDW style artwork that continues to tell the story of what these characters are up to maybe between the shows or between seasons, or I'm not really sure what the story is. I haven't read this yet, obviously. Comes in a nice board bag, as comic books should. It's a nice hefty issue. It might be it's what they call an oversized issue. So it's a nice way to get introduced to it. So that is Geek and Sundry's Tabletop Day box. Hopefully they will do another one of these. These sold out almost immediately, as most of Nerd Block often does. And that's it. The retail value for this box was around $39.95 with shipping to the United States. It rounded out at about $49.95. Overall rating for this, of course you have the obligatory card that tells you what you got and what you could have gotten. Overall rating for this for me is an 8.5 to a 9. There's a lot of things in here as a game master and as a tabletop gamer and a frequent con goer that I could get a lot of value of and a lot of mileage out of. Your mileage may vary as an individual person. If you don't play a lot of tabletop games, if you don't play a lot of games that involve a lot of writing, or you don't play a lot of RPGs, you're not going to feel a lot of value in some of these items. But for me, it's highly worth it, highly worth the price. This is a great start. I hope they do another one. Oh, and the t-shirt too. I hope they do another one for Tabletop Day 2017. And until then, I'm going to wait and see what Nerd Block has next month. Do you like this? What could Nerd Block and Geek and Sundry put in this to make it better? You know, would you buy it? Like, comment, subscribe below if you like this. The next one we're going to be doing is going to be Loot Crate, and we'll pair that off against Nerd Block and see which one is the better block in a forthcoming episode. Until then, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.